Hi everyone, and welcome to this tutorial, which is going to be on the AI education tool SchoolAI. You can see that we are on that homepage, and we'll get into the specifics in just a second. But big picture, what SchoolAI can do for educators is allow them to set up what SchoolAI calls spaces, where students can chat with different characters or different tutors to more deeply explore class content. So it could be a character from a book, it could be a famous historical figure, it could be chatting about a topic from class where they need extra help, it could be writing assistance, really anything. The great thing about this tool is not only does it give students a space to chat, but it sets up guardrails and boundaries around that so that students aren't just talking to AI about anything. This chatbot will keep it on track, as well as provide a portal for students, rather teachers, to take a look at those interactions between student and AI chatbot. So everything is recorded for the teacher to take a look at, and the teacher has control over the content that is being loaded into a space so that they can determine exactly what the student will be chatting about. So let's get started so I can show you the specifics of how SchoolAI does all of that. Once again, here we are on the SchoolAI homepage, which you can see up here in the upper left-hand corner, and this is the page we come to immediately. So what we can see here is we can launch a student activity, we can find a space that's already created, create a space, and so on. I want to scroll down here a little bit and also show you this is where you will find any recent sessions you have already set up. So we'll get into that in just a few minutes. But let's just first come into find a space. These are pre-created spaces that other people have set up and shared out so that people can give this a try. So you can see here, gosh, if we scroll down, we've got some popular now. We can scroll across. Looks like we've got some information or a space for students to talk about multiplication, fractions, Pi Day. We can come across a bit more. Vocabulary practice, women's history, facts. If we scroll down, we can see there's also some tutors on different subjects that we could come into. Some specific to this month, which will change obviously depending on what's highlighted that month. Learning activities, writing skills, and so on. I'm going to just focus for a second here on history come to life. And we're going to choose one of these characters just to see exactly what this does for us. So let's come over here. Let's try out George Washington. All right, so this is what the space would look like for a student. To kind of get a better feel for what that interaction will be like, we can click Start Preview. So it'll pop up over here. This is a learning activity designed for K-12 classrooms to explore historical perspectives. While I do my best to represent George Washington accurately, remember this is a learning tool meant to engage with history, not a perfect historical creation. This is always a good disclaimer when we're working with AI that it may not get everything exactly right. I want to also show you, SchoolAI has this speak option. Let me click this for a second.
Explore historical perspectives. While I'll do my best to represent George Washington accurately, remember that this is a learning tool.
So two things on that. One, it's really helpful for young learners who might want to hear it instead of read it, but also the voices do change depending on who you're talking to, so they try to make it as realistic as possible. Okay, so it's asking, would we like to proceed? I'm going to say yes. Okay, so it's asking, did I know that I never actually lived in the White House? It wasn't completed until after my presidency. What is something you find intriguing about my time or my role in history? I will ask, what was it like to be the very first president? I could also have voiced that, spoke it into that, instead of typing it. Okay, so it answers my questions. What responsibilities or leadership roles have you experienced in your own life? This is very common with SchoolAI. Well, they'll turn it around and ask you some questions to help the student to start thinking about different aspects of that character or that historical figure or that problem they just presented. So I could keep going back and forth here for a while. And the fact that it's doing this too could have something also to do with how it was set up. Make sure you ask the students questions. This is a pre-created one, but this could be something that we were setting up from scratch as well. We could also click here under more options, give it some custom instructions, some class description. Who is it that they'll be talking to? These are all just components to make it more customized to our class. And we could actually launch this right here for our class if we wanted to make this available to them. So let's say we do want to do that. I'm going to go ahead and click launch. What this is going to give me here is a QR code and a URL that I can share out to my students so that they can then interact with this. When students do interact with any space you've set up, you do get a back and forth interaction that you can see between the student and the AI chatbot. And I'll show you that in just a second. I want to show you, though, that while we can certainly explore spaces, and that's what we were doing here, we were looking at all the different spaces that are already out there that students could engage with. But if we wanted to create our own, I just want to show you that if we choose to create, here are the things I've already created. A few examples. I was able to set up interviews with educational philosophers, so students could come in and interview different folks about their philosophies on education. This was an example for a higher education course in the College of Education. We had a quiz me here on educational philosophies. We also have a Charlotte's Web where we talk about the book itself, and lots of different things you can do with this. If you wanted to start from scratch, you would just choose to create. You would give it a title and a prompt. Just like anything else with prompting, the more specific it is, the better the results are going to be. You can align it to standards if you want. You also have some options for a teacher description. What do teachers need to know about this space? As well as a student description. What do they need to know about this space? It's also worth noting that you can add any files to this. So in the example I just showed you where the students were interviewing educational philosophers, I uploaded information specifically about those philosophers from the course itself so that AI was drawing from that information. You don't have to do that, but it would be a bit more targeted to what you are doing in class if you want to make sure that they're hitting those exact points. So let me show you an example of creating a space and previewing it so that you can see how to do this from scratch. Okay, so here's one that I've created. We gave this a title of Simulated Conversation with Parent About Special Ed Services. The prompt, AI will take on the role of a parent. Students will hold a simulated conversation with this parent about their child needing to be evaluated for special education services. The teacher candidates have to explain the process to a nervous and worried parent. So I did not align it to any standards here. I did have AI generate a cover image for me. You can see that I have a subtitle, a teacher description where it does explain exactly what the point of this space is for, and then a student description. So those are things that you can put in just for a bit more detail. So if I wanted to preview this, I can go ahead and start the preview. This will read all the information I gave it. And it's also giving me that same disclaimer. This is a learning activity designed for K-12 students. Okay, do you understand? Are you ready to proceed with the conversation? Yes. Again, I could have this spoken as well. All right, the parent looks anxious, wringing their hands tightly. I've heard my child might need to be evaluated for special education services, and honestly, I'm really worried about what that means. Can you help me understand the process? What should I expect? So this will allow the student to go back and forth and actually talk to that parent and complete this role play experience. Now, if I go through this and I decide, yep, this is exactly what I'm looking for, I can choose to save and launch. Once again, we see these same options, Google Classroom or use a space code, same idea. Here's my URL for it, where students can then get in and start engaging with it. Here's a great really important piece. Students never log into this. They just put in their name so that me as the teacher will be able to identify different students, but they never have to log in, and it is just a space for them to engage with this. I will show you what that looks like. on the student side, it just asks for a name, and here is the space code that's automatically added because I had this URL. And now here's my conversation. I'm going to go back and forth about this topic that I'm asking students to engage with. Now, the last piece I want to show you is how to take a look at what students are saying inside these spaces. So I'm going to navigate to a space I've already demoed and tried out as demo students so I can show you some of that interaction. Okay, here is one that I have done on Charlotte's Web. I have 3 simulated students, which were all in actuality me, but they were just something I was playing around with to demo this. So if I wanted to take a look at what student 1 had to do, what they had to say back and forth with the chat bot, I can click on them and I can see exactly the back and forth on what the chatbot said and what the student said, all the way down. Now, if we look up at the top here, it's giving me a little bit of a headline. I'm engaging with characters from Charlotte's Web. I'm showing interest. The student is struggling with understanding key themes and characters and requires additional support and guidance to connect with the story. Now, this is just reading everything that we did back and forth and giving me kind of an overview. So this is good for me to know that I know about student 1. I'll show you a couple of other key pieces, but let's take a look at student 2 here. We have a curious explorer here. I'm engaged with the question, provided correct answers, indicating a solid understanding. And here is the back and forth with my student and the chat bot. Same with student 3. Now, one thing to note here is that this system will actually pull out anything that it finds concerning. It found one in student 1, and there's a red dot there to let me know I need to pay attention to this. The student expressed that life and friendship are not very important, which may indicate a need for social emotional support or further discussion. These insights happen automatically, and if there is something that the SchoolAI system sees as concerning, it will pull it out and let the teacher know about it. I love that reporting tool quickly so that I can see where there are potential concerns that I need to address. So all of the students will be listed here, and I can then come and get more information out about any of the students that I want to hear. A really helpful tool when allowing students to engage in a chatbot. And these are, of course, things that a regular large language model will not be able to do for you by default. And again, the guardrails are in place so that the students aren't having to log in or disclose any kind of private information. This is all just contained inside of SchoolAI. So that's a quick overview of the tool itself and what it might do for you in teaching and learning. If any of these features feel like a good fit for you, I would really encourage you to take a look more deeply into SchoolAI and see if it might help you with engagement and allowing students to dig a bit more deeply into a topic that you're working on in class and do it in a very safe way. Good luck using SchoolAI.